very special edition of Ground Zero Salem. As always, I'm your host, Pat. I decided this time to focus on a label that maybe not a lot of people know about or talk about. A little label called JL America Turbo USA. So without further ado, let's do this.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Playing right now, breaking my double dipping rule for Deteriorate, Rotting in Hell. This is going to be playing in the background while I go through the journey of the lesser known JL acts here. As I mentioned in my very first video, this is Unsung Heroes of Pennsylvania death metal. Raw, visceral, US death metal that had some similarities to Deicide, and I believe in guitar tone a lot to, maybe not intentionally, but a lot to Entombed, but very, very demonic, malevolent, brutal death metal. A little bit of the dual track vocals a la Glenn Benton. So many hooks, so many great riffs on this. Hopefully it sees a re-release. Last I knew, Dark Symphonies / The Crypt was going to do something. I know Ted's up to his knees and lots of great reissues, but hopefully Bill Ricca's finest reissue label will get around to that sooner than later. Now, JL had a lot of really, really awesome bands, and a lot of them were in partnership with Osmos that they distributed regionally here in the US. So I don't really feel the need, most of these need no introduction as far as death and black metal fiends go, but they put out Blasphemy, Gods of War. Pretty simple layouts on most of these. You had this nice font there on both sides. J-Carb, just the credits. Nothing too flashy. They also put out the first Beharit album, Oath of Black Blood. I love this. This is really, what cost-cutting measures were necessary for this? Just two guys. Those other guys? Fuck those other guys. Just half of the album on there. Not even fancy print on that one. JL America released that. And who can forget Switzerland's awesome, dark, mystical black metal there. Samael. Worship him. Again, that nice font that was pretty much common on all these tapes. All these are on cassette that I have, by the way, so that's what we'll be looking at. This comes with a little ad for Brutal and Aggressive, almost free. So there was a bunch of well-known bands that were on this label, kind of like Wild Rags, like went to get scooped up by somebody else when the label folded. Morpheus Descends was on here. I got the whole list in front of me. I can't remember all of it. Immortals. Full Moon Mysticism came out on JL back in the day. Mutilation. Excruciation, another Swiss band. There's a Pyogenesis was on here. I think Impaled Nazarene. So there's some really good names on this label. It was in Iowa City, or not Iowa, Indianapolis, Indiana based label. There was a previous address for Natick, Mass, which isn't too far from here, so I don't know if the guy moved around or what the whole story was. I couldn't find much about the label online. If anybody has any info they'd like to share, that'd be great. It seemed like almost like a fly-by-night, short-lived kind of deal. They released a lot of well-known stuff, but the stuff that I was more interested in were kind of the it'd be mean to call them also rans, because I mean a lot of these bands were really good, but the more obscure, some more murkily produced kind of cryptic kind of bands. I picked this up recently because I always saw this ad when I was a kid. Should be hearing some of this in a sec, but this is Nocturnel with Nothing But Hatred, and this is a banger. Bought it a couple of weeks ago through Discogs, and this actually has a full fold out with the J card. Lyrics. This is sick. If you like brutal thrash / death metal, if you like a little bit of technicality, maybe not atheist level, but verging on almost that with like lots of dizzying rhythmic changes, think like Hell Witch or like Insanity, like that. We're talking that level of awesomeness. It's just super brutal, technical enough, but memorable enough. The only thing with it, and I view it as a plus, some people might see it as a detriment, is the drummer seems to be going off tempo a little bit. Maybe they didn't have enough time in the studio, maybe he was getting tired, but it gives them almost sort of a jazzy feel. The bass is also kind of like that atheist, jazzy, kind of as loud as the guitars. Very, very skilled guys, and I did a little bit of reading here on Metal Archives, and apparently the guitarist was a live member of Ripping Corpse and Incantation. Let's see what his name is here. Never good with people's names. Tom Stevens. He was also in Morpheus Descends, Savage Death, never heard them. The drummer was in Circle of Dead Children and Sepsism. So they knew what they were doing. Like, those are great bands. All very skilled. Right underneath that, in terms of quality, as far as like recorded quality, we have Mexico's Mortuary. Real good. This is more thrashy death, but more raw, stripped down, infernal sounding, almost kind of a little bit of a South American tinge to it. A lot of like Hell Awaits-y Slayer kind of thrash, but also very much in the death metal arena. Great sort of, I'd say Mark Grew kind of vocals, you know, that kind of Aztec style kind of vocals too, you know, that mid-range, growled, pronounced, just awesome stuff. That record is definitely worth tracking down if you can track it down for a reasonable price. Even these really obscure ones on Discogs these days are insanely expensive, which is unfortunate. A lot of them could really benefit from a reissue. Nocturnals from New Jersey, and they're still on there as active, and now they're in Texas, apparently. The guys moved to Texas, I guess. Another Jersey band that was great, that was on, this is too dark, it's on a dark case, Vicious Circle. This was a cutout. This is still verging on death, but more thrash-based stuff. Also kind of technical, had some good twists and turns. Very brutal, infernal stuff. Worth checking out. Yeah, vocals are a little bit clearer and more thrashy. In a lot of ways, it's almost kind of reminds me of, I want to say like Dead Brain Cells or something like that. It's kind of forward thinking in that way, but also just straight up thrashing too. And the bottom three here, when we start to get into some weird territory, we start getting into the swamp that ain't drained yet. This is just a promo. If I can figure out my editing, you'll see and hear this in a moment. If not, there will be links posted anyway. Organic Infest with Penitence. This is a great record, but the production is definitely not for everybody. This is a band from Puerto Rico, which is, I'm sure there are other death metal bands from Puerto Rico. This is the only one I've heard of. Not too different from Cannibal Corpse, early Cannibal Corpse, maybe Suffocation, you know, that kind of sort of New York, early 90s brutal death metal sound. But the guitars sound like they're being played through a practice amp made out of the shoebox with cheesecloth for a grill. It's extremely muffled, and it kind of I like it, you know, because I like stuff that sounds fucked up, but it kind of accentuates the drumming and the bass playing, which is very good, and the vocals, which are suitably guttural and pretty intense. So if you're feeling adventurous and you like your stuff like demo level quality, look no further than this record. The album art is like almost like Dan Seagrave, but with really weird, bright primary colors. You'll have to see it. Hopefully you will. Moment. Then we have Malicious Onslaught. This is rough. Rough in a good way for me. I don't know what's going on with that cover art. The devil's cracking open the earth, which is made of steel for some reason. It's bleeding. It's got rivets in it. I don't know what else is going on. You know, we got some serious dudes right there. Metal guys. Dude's wearing a Funeral Nation shirt. Chicago band. This is straight up thrash. It's very Slayer-ish, kind of verging between Slayer and maybe like a little bit of a crossover Cryptic Slaughter kind of vibe I'm getting from it. But man, is it badly produced. It's soaked in reverb. The guitars are, I don't even know what's going on with the guitars. They're not inaudible, but they sound so weird and just over-processed and strange. And they're kind of quiet in the mix too. The playing is off. The drummer could be better. It's sophomoric at best, and I fucking love it. It sounds like a goddamn mess. It's a thrash-tastic pile of doo-doo that's just kills me. It's awesome. This is actually not on JL America. I ordered it not knowing that, not that I care. Different cover for the JL release. It's a band called Excruciating Pain. Thou Shalt Choose. This is some weird label. I don't know where in the world they're from, but as you can see, they've misspelled excruciating on the spine. That's pretty good. This is mostly mid-paced death metal. Thrashy and mid-paced, and it's almost kind of carries along. It's sort of a obituary kind of tempo. There's the occasional fast part. The vocals have like some kind of processed effect on them that makes them sound really, really, really demonic, and it just sounds like a continuous roar. Not a lot of like fast cadence to the vocals. The Nocturnal, going back to that for just a moment, is amazing because the guy has low and occasionally shrieky and occasionally kind of low vocals. They're shrieky for the most part, if we can jump back to Nocturnal for just a second. And he does that kind of early hardcore punk kind of crossover fast spitting, like da 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 da, but all like perfectly powerful. So another bonus point for that Nocturnal. Can't recommend that enough. But the Excruciating Pain has got this demonic, effects-laden growl over everything, and it's super raw. The recording, it's It's great. I think it's definitely something worth checking out. These guys were from somewhere in New York. I think somewhere downstate. I didn't recognize the name of the town. I don't remember it off the top of my head. So yeah, I mean, it's really great to check out labels like this because it just goes to show how much was going on in the early 90s with death metal. You had this label, a bunch of other, like, grindcore records. You had, of course, Wild Rags, who ripped off, supposedly, and released an insane amount of stuff from some really obscure bands. And I love digging through this stuff. And the thing is that, you know, most of this stuff is up on YouTube, and you can enjoy it. If you're a weirdo like me, and you're gonna go on Discogs to you know, to scrape out of your wallet $15 for a subpar band, relatively speaking, you might be that guy, but it's at least fun to check out, and I recommend it. There's Killing Addiction, which is a band that I just ordered their CD. I didn't want to wait for it because I was pretty hot to make this video. Killing Addiction's sick. I just got one of their 7 inches in the mail, the one on Seraphic Decay, and so, you know, there's bands like Killing Addiction that were just completely forgotten about. And it's great because there's constantly new awesome bands coming out on Dark Descent and all these new labels that honor the traditional early 90s way of death metal. But man, you can just keep looking and looking and get all these sick old bands and check them out. And all the aforementioned I recommend. Even Malicious Onslaught and Organic Infest and Excruciating Pain, they might not be for everybody, but give them a shot. This stuff's really fun. And definitely check out Deteriorate. So good. Magnifique. That's about it. I hope everybody had a good Mother's Day. Till next time, subscribe, like, you know what I usually ask you to do. Talk to you guys later.